Hi Year 3, it's me again. I'm back with some more multiplication, which I know that some of you will be really excited about, some of you might not be. But let's see how we get on today. So in my last two videos, we've been learning how to multiply by hundreds and tens and some thousands using multiplications that we already know. And you've done a really good job of that. So we're going to move on to something today that's a little bit more complicated. It's called the grid method to help us multiply by larger two-digit numbers. It's going to be tricky, but I know that we can practice together. So your first little job to warm up that brain is I'd like you to partition some two-digit numbers for me. Now, partitioning is a posh word for when you explode the number into its tens and into its ones. In my class, we karate chop it into its tens and into its ones. So have a little look at these numbers and see if you can partition them on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper. As I hold this up, pause the video so you can quickly partition first before I move on, okay? Hopefully you can see it. There we go. So the first one I've done for you, 23, you partition the number and it would be 20 and 3, make 23. See if you can do that with the other numbers. Pause it now. Right, I'm hoping you all had a go at that. The reason I did that bit first is because I know if I show you this bit with the rest of the work, some of you will try and move on too quickly. I know what you like. So you had to go at partitioning some of these numbers. Let's see how you got on. So the next number is 42, and if we karate chop that number right down the middle, we wouldn't have 4 and 2, we'd have 4 tens and 2 ones, but this 4 tens means 40 and 2, 40 add 2. Next number, 37. You'd partition that into 3 tens, which is the same as 30, and 7 makes 37. And the last one, 76, we partition it into 70 and 6. How did you get on with that? Give them a little tick at home if you got them right. Now we're going to move on to the grid method. This is all still part of the operation where we're multiplying. We're finding groups of, lots of, we're doing repeated addition. They all mean the same thing. So it's part of our 4 operations of multiplication, division, adding and subtracting, but we're focusing a lot on multiplication at the moment. So what do I mean by the grid method? I'm going to show you. Might have to move this down a bit, if it will move down, so I can show you a little bit better. Okay. So we're going to use the grid method to solve this multiplication question. So I've got here 23 times 4. 23 multiplied by 4 equals. Now, I know my 4's pattern, but I don't know up to 23 times 4. So this is where we use the grid method in this situation. If we've got to multiply by a two-digit number that's larger than what we already know. Now, before we start doing this, we need to partition this two-digit number that we're multiplying by. So to partition 23, you had to go up here. Partition 23, we get 20 and 3. Now what you have to do to help you solve that is you have to draw a little grid. So what I did first is I drew out the number 20, wrote out the number 20 and the number 3, and I did a line underneath them. Okay. Then I did another line down here, and in this little square here I did my multiply to show what I'm doing. And here I put the number that I'm multiplying by. I'm multiplying by 4. If the drawing out looks a little bit tricky, don't worry, because I'm going to show you another one in a moment where I'll draw it out for you, with you, so you can see what I did. Okay? Now we've drawn out the grid, we're ready to multiply. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to look at each box in turn. So first of all, I'm going to follow along this way. You want to kind of read the multiplication grid along like that. So we're looking across it. So the first thing I've got to do is 4 multiplied by 20. 4 multiplied by 20. Okay? And I'm going to put the answer there. Now this is where it comes in useful, where you think Do you remember I drew my thinking bubbles of the multiplication you do know that can help you? So I don't know 4 lots of 20 or 20 lots of 4, but I do know 4 lots of 2. So let's count in our 4s. 2 lots of 4 or 4 lots of 2. 4, 8. It's 8. So in my hundreds, tens and ones grid over here, I'd do the 8 in the ones. But remember, I want to make that 10 times bigger because I want to do 4 lots of 20, and 20 is 10 times bigger than 2. So this time, this 8, because I'm making it 10 times bigger, it's going to go into the tens column, okay? It would go here. Now my answer's not going to be 88. I can't make an 8 appear from nowhere. I'm moving the 8 over into the tens column to make it 10 times bigger. So here I'd leave behind a 0 to show that there's no ones. So 4 lots of 2 is 8. 4 lots of 20 is 80. So I can write that in here. I'm not done yet. I've done 4 lots of 20. Now I need to do 4 lots of 3. I've done 4 lots of 20. Now 4 lots of 3, or 4 multiplied by 3. That's okay, I can do that one because I know my 4s. Let's count in our 4s up to 3 lots of 4. Are we ready? 4, 8, 12. So I'm going to write that in there. Now I've got the pieces of information that I need, where I've partitioned the number and multiplied it. Now my last task that I need to do is to add those two numbers together. So I'm going to just put a little add there so I remember that I'm doing 80 add 12. Now some of you might not be able to do that and want to draw out your column addition. You can do that if you want to, but let's try and do it in our brain. Let's try and use our mental methods. So I've put my T and my O on the number 12 to help me think about what I can do to add these two numbers. I'm going to do 80, and first of all I'm going to add on my tens. 80 add one more 10. So that's going to be 90. So I've added on my tens. Now let's add on my twos. I've got 90 and I need to add on 2 ones. So 90 add on 2. I'm imagining in my head that number 90 and the 2 ones jumping on top of that 0. So I've got the number 92. So just like that, we've solved 23 times 4, 23 multiplied by 4. It gives me the answer 92. Now don't worry if your brain's aching a little bit. We'll have a go at another one together, okay? I'm just going to wipe my board clean so we can have a go at the next one together. While I'm doing that, can you have a go at partitioning the number 21? So explode 21 into tens and ones, because that's going to help us with the next one. Just going to rub the board. Remember, you're partitioning the number 21. Maybe write it down on a piece of paper if you've got one in front of you. Partition the number 21. Now I'm all clean and ready to go. Shall we have a go at my next one then? Let's try 21 multiplied by 3. Don't freak out, we can work this out. I don't know my threes pattern up to 21 lots of 3. So we're going to use our grid multiplication. So my first job I asked you to do while I was wiping the board was to explode, karate chop, partition the number 21. Did you manage it? Let me listen. What do you think it is? It's 20 and 1. That's going to help us. That's a really important step, to look at your 2-digit number and think, what would that look like if I partitioned it into tens and ones? Now we've done that, we can draw our grid. Always put the larger number across the top. So I'm going to put here, I might swap the colours because it just helps us a little bit. I'm going to go for red. We're going to go 20. And then I think I used green on the other board. And 1. Okay. And then I'm going to draw my grid in. I'm going to underline the 20 and the 1. and then put a line down the middle to separate them out. Okay? And the operation that I'm using is multiplication, so I'm going to put that there to remind me, and then I just draw another line to separate them out again. So I've separated out the 20 and the 1, the multiplication, and underneath the multiplication I'm going to put the number that I'm multiplying by, which is 3. I've drawn out my grid, now I'm ready to go. Again, remember, you're reading across like that, so otherwise you'll get jumbled. So you're reading across the grid. I'm going to start with 3. I'm going to do 3 multiplied by 20. 3 lots of 20, 3 times 20. Now, don't worry if you don't know 20 lots of 3. This is where our hundreds, tens and ones grid can help us out. And remember, let's think about what multiplication we do know. I don't know 3 lots of 20, but I do know 3 lots of 2. So I do know 3 lots of 2. That's going to help me. 3 lots of 2 is 3, 6. It's 6. Now I want to make my answer 10 times bigger because I'm multiplying by a number that's 10 times bigger than 2, which is what I've done to work out 3 times 20. I did 3 times 2, which makes 6. Now to make it 10 times bigger, that number is going to jump over into the tens column. Remember, I've got 66, that number's jumped. I need to leave behind a 0. So 3 times 20 must be 60. Whew, that's one column done. Now let's move on to the next one. 3 lots of 1. 3 times 1. 3 multiplied by 1. That one's easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's got to be 3. 1 lot of 3 is 3. Now the last job, my answer isn't 603. That is telling me that 3 times 20 is 60 and 3 times 1 is 3. My last job is to add them together. So 60 add 3. I'm imagining this 3 jumping on top of where that 0 is. There aren't any 1, so it can jump on top, and I get the answer 63. 21 times 3 is 63. How about that? In the past 12 minutes, just over 12 minutes, we've worked out how to use the grid method. I hope you feel proud of yourself. Now, if you go to the Year 3 page on the website, I've uploaded some questions for you to have a go at using the grid method. You might want your older brother or sister, if you've got one, or your adult at home, just to help you with the first couple. It's drawing out the grid that's a little bit tricky. I know you'll be able to do the maths. It's the drawing out of the grid. So get them to help you with the grid first. Take a picture and email your pictures over, or send them a picture over in Teams. If you're stuck, I'll be on Teams all day, so you can ask me any questions, or you can just write the answer to your questions onto J2E5 and save it, and then we'll be able to look in your files. But no cheating. I don't want you to just type them in the calculator if you're going to send them on, save them onto J2E5. You must be working them out on a piece of paper using your grid method. See how you get on. I won't see you for a little bit now because it's going to be the Easter holidays and the teachers do need a little bit of a break as well. So me and Mrs. Smith will be on Teams every so often, but not all day, Monday to Friday like we have been. We'll still post you some little bits of work to do, so do not worry. Have fun over the next 2 weeks. Stay safe. If you're worried about anything, message on Teams and we'll get back to you as quick as we can, or email us. And me and Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Shah will be calling you up after the Easter holidays again to have a little chat and see how you got on. Goodbye, stay safe and make sure you stay busy.